what we've really come to understand is it's the hand action that actually drives.
If you have good hands, you know what to do with your hands. So much works back into the body, and the golfer they're empowered when they know how to use their hands properly. Gentlemen.
Here we go. Chris has got those up on.
There's your favorite.
Well, there's
Ben Hogan.
Yeah, he's my idol. One of them. Peter Thomson's also fits under the same mold. Thomson really admired Sam Snead. He thought Sam Snead had the most magic rhythm and one of the most graceful golf swings he'd ever seen. He wanted Sam Snead's tempo and rhythm, and he wanted Ben Hogan's coil. So he combined both pretty well in his career.
That's beautiful. Take a look at that trail leg. I mean, I love if you go back to Ben Hogan for a moment. You can see that trail leg leaning toward the target a little bit, and you see his pelvis centered and almost, obviously relocating onto that left leg beautifully. And let's go to Peter Thomson. Oh, by the way, Ben Hogan was my mentor's, favorite swing. George Knudson loved Ben Hogan. And then what I love about Peter Thomson is I love how relaxed his arms look at the top. Now, not to say that some of the swings we're going to see aren't a little bit more indicative of structure and maybe perhaps power. I'm sure Peter Thomson could smash it. But I love the way he looks right there, and I wish I could have seen him play a little bit more. I'll be 52. I know you're a wee bit older than me, but I didn't get to see him swing a golf club, unfortunately. I'll have to look him up on YouTube.
I was very fortunate when I was the pro at Sorrento Golf Club. He was a member and actually had a bit to do with my position there. So I was I had a great opportunity to play quite a few practice rounds with Peter at Sorrento Golf Club.
Yeah.
And one of my memorable games with Peter, I played with him at Royal Melbourne with Dr. Gary Wyron when he came out to do our first coaching summit here in Australia in 1992.
Mm-hmm.
In Sydney. Gary came down. One of Gary Warren's requests was he wanted to play Royal Melbourne, and if at all possible, he'd like to play with Peter Thomson. So, and
that's awesome.
And I organised Gary Warren to do a series of clinics at my venue in Melbourne, and my request was that I could play with Peter Thomson and Gary Warren, which I got lucky enough to do.
Well,
it was magic.
I got to play with Gary Wyron too. I got to host him in 1991. He came to do a seminar at New Mexico State when I was in college, and my coach sent me to the airport to pick him up. I picked him up and went and played golf. And I don't know how old he was at that point, but I was a whippersnapper. Thought I was pretty good, and he was quite a good player. So that was quite fun. But let's move on to some juicy stuff. Let's go. Why don't we go right to Bryson DeChambeau?
That would be great to see the start of the swing.
Yeah, I love this image. Obviously, Tiger, arguably the greatest of all time with Jack Nicklaus. Let's see who's next. So Xander Schauffele, just a fantastic player, a beautiful pivot. He's got some structure in that trail leg of his, maintained. Very, very nice. Here we have Xander face on view. An exceptional coil, no sliding to the right. Very well. We'll talk about this in a second because this will be a question. I saw a question pop up from a gentleman earlier. Let's go talk about Bryson right here. Oh, John Rahm. So this Rombo, this powerhouse of a player, and I love this. And let's go to this Bryson DeChambeau video right here, or this picture. And why don't you start us off on this, Peter, and then I'll jump in afterward because I love this picture. It's very illustrative.
Well, you can see the stress. He's moving that club back so fast with his hands and hips. His hips are his body pivot is working very powerfully with his hands. That the club head's last. The weight of the club head's it's like a wrecking ball. I liken it to this orange whip. I couldn't get that. I haven't got the speed, and I think most of us, we wouldn't want to swing as fast as he does because initially anyway, because most of us aren't as strong. I think this is the difference between a tour pro and most average golfers is you do the same idea, but just do it with a little less force and a little slower and build up. So you can see here, when I push on that handle of the orange whip, you can see that the weight of that heavy orange ball, it can't get away first. Even and it whips it back. So you get a very it's a swinging motion, and the club just it takes its. Paul Runyon said to me when I went to him first up, he said, Peter, he said, centrifugal force will move the club more precisely than you can ever steer it. So he said, whenever you can use the circular motion force to swing the club will swing more consistently on path, and it will do all the right things. So don't get in the road. Let the club head do the work. And when you start with that, what Bryson DeChambeau is doing there, you really get that idea of the handle first, club head last, and turning internally, not swaying.
I love it. So I've got the orange wedge here, and we were talking earlier. My good buddy Jim Hackenberg at college, I think he played at Oregon State. I played at New Mexico State. I met him in college. We got paired a couple of times, and while he was caddying on tour, he realized the rhythm of this, and thus he invented the orange whip, and then other things spun off like the orange wedge. But to your point, what you taught me years ago that is a part of every single golf school I do is handle first, club head last. Handle first, club head last, and how that whole thing comes up from the ground as a sense of, when you watch Bryson smash a drive, and I can't carry the ball 340. If I absolutely smoke it, I can carry it 280. And that's me absolutely mashing it. But the same thing and whether you carry it 200 yards or 180 yards or 240 yards, really doesn't matter, is you can see the same elements that Peter taught to me, that George Knudsen had similar language but didn't quite organize it as well as Peter, in that there's footwork and this sensation of pressure and pushing, and then the motion of handle first, club head last as a sense of how we push into the ground. The club head goes last, but once it starts its journey, it's got enough inertia to help you develop a fantastic backswing. So it's amazing how some of these guys that didn't have the 3D motion capture and force plates that we get to use nowadays just use their sense and wisdom to help golfers get better. And so, nowadays we can actually prove it with force plates and 3D technology, whereas the great players from the past, hit enough balls just to kind of know it. And the good ones, they were able to share their wisdom with people like me. And then I, got a little bit better in understanding and depth of knowledge from guys like Peter.
Yeah, look, basically, if you got a swinging motion, you start it right, then basically a lot of the golf swing, backswing takes care of itself. But if was an interesting exercise for me when I met up with Paul, not with Paul Runyon so much, but with Tom Tomasello, who was a great man with the golfing machine, and he was probably the best coach I ever had, as far as he was a great communicator. And he said to Peter, he says, you know what your right arm does in the backswing? And I said, I think I do. And I went like over here. He said, no. He said, your right arm doesn't do that. He says, your right hand arm just goes up in front like this. And I said, no, it goes, no. He said, no. He says, it's the body turn that takes it back there. So there's an exercise that we put into our program called push the right hand bent. And when you want to push with your right hand, pushing that way would be pushing, and if you push out. But if I move in or I move back, that'd be a pull. So what I want to push with the right hand. Now, I just get I recommend most people that really want to play golf, get yourself a grip end so you can learn to swing the handle. Eddie Merrins wrote a great book called Swing the Handle. And if you learn to control the handle, you got a good chance of controlling not only the club, but you'll control your arms and your body. So this push the right hand bent, this is a little exercise, and you can see from this swing corrector here, it really fits in line. That's what your hands and arms should do in the backswing. But say, no, it doesn't go there. Well, you add body turn, hip turn, shoulder turn, and now we're in a backswing. So this is a drill. to train your hands and arms so they move in the correct relationship, the correct alignment to the body center.
So
you don't want them pulling across your body.
That exercise, Peter, is the push the right arm bent exercise is a drill that's been adopted by probably right now the world's most popular golf coach, an excellent coach on tour, a friend of mine, a guy named George Gankis. And George has many of his students do this. They get over a golf ball, they get their arms up in front of them, they rotate, and they smash it. So he basically, the same thing that the push the right arm bent exercise is a way to elevate, rotate, and then go A to B, because like you said, too many of the players that we deal with they don't have any elevation. And for the folks that come to my camp, and for those of you watching, you know who you are, I guarantee you're 50 and older, they've lost this ability to push the right arm bent. They've lost the ability to elevate their arms in conjunction with their rotation to get to the place where you can really go A to B, okay, the top of the backswing back to the golf ball. We need to get you I always joke, we need to get your Ferrari up to speed, so we need to elevate those arms. We need to, in conjunction with the rotation, so you have some hand depth and height and width so that you can give it a smash. And ultimately, that's, people want to hit it far.
Yeah, exactly. It's the combination, the coordination between hands, arms, and body that will give you that coil, that backswing that really winds up. So you're winding up your body, your arms, and your wrists. So if we looked at the wrists in this position, that right hand is definitely not, you don't want your club this way, you want your right hand. It's in basically a position. They used to say a drink weight. You can't quite get it to hold a tray up here, but it gets on that in a position that you could really karate chop the golf ball. So that right hand and arm is there. And what you just said there, Martin, if you got the flexibility or you got longer arms, you'll definitely get a little higher with your hands and arms. If you just got medium length arms, you won't get quite so high. But when you look at the top of the backswing from this line here, I think a good measure is you don't want the arms out here and you don't want the arms in here. When you swing back using this push effect in the beginning, the back sling, if we drew a line from the ball to the club head, the hands and everything would be on the line of that shoulder, or around about, wouldn't they?
Very much so. Very much so. Yep, we kind of call that the right shoulder plane, and a lot of that thing, like little details like that, coaches will be looking for. But as a student, again, if you can deal with the momentum that we're talking about and how you feel pressure in these feet, getting over a ball with this sense of push, and then this motion of the pelvis, the handle will go first, the club head will go last. That inertial momentum will develop a really, really nice backswing. But typically what I see, and here's the other thing, Peter, do me a favor, talk to me about the tap. Okay, George Newton said it differently, but I like how you say it too, because this is such a big deal. I want everybody to hear this before we wrap up this webinar and we lead into the next one, which is really the A to B when we strike a golf ball.
What we've really come to understand is it's the hand action that actually drives
if you have
the life.
good